So, as I mentioned, this was signed off, so I'm going to cover the electrical side very, very briefly first. Obviously, we've got a smart meter installed here, and you can see we've got a new consumer unit. This new consumer unit is all compliant with BS 7671, the wiring regulations. As you can see, all of the residual circuit breakers are installed. You've got 2 RCD circuits there, and also surge protection as well, so that's right up to the current edition. I'm not going to go too much for the sake of this video on all of the compliance documents. I will touch briefly at the end, but these obviously you'd want to see in some kind of evidence, either pre or post audit. So that's the electrical installation there. So we're going to walk through into the cupboard where we have a combination boiler been installed. These were both installed at a similar time. So again, to give those hints and tips to your auditee to give you the right information, we want a really good description of what's being done. This is a 24 kilowatt combination boiler. As you can see, heat line, a Capri 24 kilowatt. You'll notice on here there are some time controls, but I will update you on obviously boiler plus, which is part of the building regulations when a combination boiler is installed. So Capri 24 kilowatt boiler. We've got smart controls here. We've got a wireless receiver, a fuse spur. So the wiring all looks very good and in good condition. We've got a blanked off spur there, not too sure what that is. We have a filling loop, which obviously tops the boiler up. We can clearly see here that we have a ton dish from discharge from the boiler, so the temperature and pressure relief valve, if that went off, would naturally disperse through the ton dish so it's visible and then out to drain. You can see the plastic pipe work going through, and that goes out and connects to the 4-inch stack, so that is all currently compliant. Ideally, filling loops shouldn't be left on, they should be taken off. But we do find that quite often, but you could raise that as an observation. All of the pipe work is very good condition actually. The soldering is all in good. The clips that are installed clearly demonstrate that everything there is nice and tidy. The pipes are all aligned quite well. You've got the plastic connector coming out from the condensing part of the boiler too there, which also goes to drain. So everything is fairly compliant as far as one can see there. At the bottom end there, you can just see the cold water mains coming in. And this here is a cold water that is going up into the loft, which I shall show you shortly. So overall, a good installation. No real technical issues with this installation. You will also note that there is a hot water service pipe going through into the loft space, and the flue also goes into the loft space too. So there's a good description of the boiler. What we're going to do now is also cover aspects of the boiler in relation, because it's a full install in a new dwelling. Note the radiator on the wall. All of the radiators in this dwelling have got thermostatic radiator control valves, TRVs. As you can see here, it's part of the building regulations too. I've already checked all the other livable space. And TRVs subject to the bathrooms and towel rails are all fitted. Here we have smart controls. Now this is the Hive system here. I showed you the wireless receiver earlier. This is the Hive controls. They're all in operation, as you can see. Controls are quite essential. We want the auditee to make sure that they're giving us close up so we can actually see their functioning. As you can see here, I'll press that again. We've got obviously the temperature and target. Now it's very important on a combination boiler. If I was the auditor in this case, the auditor in this case, I'd be looking for boiler plus, which is all compliance with the current building regulations. So if we hadn't had smart controls or one of the other variations that need to be added, this wouldn't have been compliant with the building regulations. So smart controls quite essential in this case. Just to support some of the electrical stuff, we have here switched off at the moment and on standby, but we have a electric underfloor heating system here, generally just to take the coldness of the tiles in both the bathrooms. The main bathroom was all signed off under Part G regulations for plumbing. I'm not going to dwell too much on that because it's fairly straightforward there. Focus is really on the boiler and the gas installations and electrical, but this element was also signed off under building control. Just going to go through to one of the main rooms. Again, livable space here. We've got 2 convector radiators, and just to confirm as well, here we have thermostatic valves. So I'm not just showing just one room, I've actually covered 2 rooms to make sure that we meet the building regulations with regard to this installation. And then behind the plant there, we've got the lock shield, but the other side there is a TRV. Now just briefly, I've got out here all of the information. Naturally, in handover procedures, you expect a lot of documentation to be at the client end, in this case the domestic client. So I've asked for this to be produced. One point to note here, actually, a non-conformity would be raised because the benchmark certificate hasn't been completed. So we do want to promote documentation. I've also got compliance certificates here for the self-certification of the electrical and also the boiler as well. So all compliant with building regulations, but a very, very common flaw here is benchmark not completed. So we do want to encourage our auditees to try and get as much documentation out so we can see that it's there on site. And obviously we drill down into more documents required and perhaps ask for further if we can't. But some of these documents won't be available anywhere else other than on site, and in this case in the domestic premises. But I can tell you that other than the benchmark not completed, I've looked at all the other documentation and it's compliant with the current building regulations. So, final part of this, just going to go up into the loft space. One tip I would say as well, just quickly going back to the boiler cupboard, we don't want to see a load of clutter in plant rooms or boiler housings or cupboards in this case. Before this site inspection was carried out, I asked the owner of the property to clear all the coats and the bits and pieces that were in here. So, you know, we want to see a clear video without anything sort of in our way that's going to compromise what we can physically see, because as you can see there as I'm standing now, we've got a really good clear view of that boiler installation. So just to finish up, again, obviously safe access and egress is fairly critical here. We've got the standard ladder installed, which I'm going up to now. Keep the video flowing, and all we want to do here is just move away from all the clutter and focus on the vertical flue. Note that there is a CO2 monitor placed in the loft deliberately. The vertical flue obviously does pose some risks, but it's all sealed and been signed off correctly and terminates through the pitched roof. And while we're up here, we have some plastic pipe work being run, some speed fit pipe work by looks of it. Probably not the best, but there's no non-conformities or non-compliance there. It has been tagged up to show that that is hot water, for instance. My concern here would probably be freezing in the winter months. And also, just to accompany the electrical side there, just going to move over carefully in the loft space, and you will see that there is a compliant vent axia fan that's been installed to the ensuite bathroom. Again, the documents have been witnessed for this on the electrical side of being signed off. All compliant and terminating through the wall. And we'll make our way back down. And that is pretty much it.